Hi everyone, how are you all? And good afternoon, everyone. We'll start the chapter that we were doing. In fact, we'll continue the chapter that we were doing. Okay, the demographic structure of Indian society. All right. Okay. So in the last class, what we did two theories: the theory of demographic transition and Malthusian theory of population growth. Right. And I'm sure now you know everything about these two theories. We understood three different phases: first phase, second phase, third phase. You can also call them first stage, second stage, and third stage, right? We always refer to certain societies like underdeveloped societies, then developing societies, then developed societies, right? So we can refer those countries or societies, to understand different phases, to understand different conditions. And remember that when I say society, then it also means a state, then it also means country, right? Because without a society, no country can form. No country or no state can be formed or formulated, right? So we did two theories in the last class, and today we're gonna proceed further, right? But before I proceed further, I want to tell you certain thing, right? In the last class, we ended with the doubt of demographic dividend. I want to tell you one thing here. Everything goes with a systematic way. Everything needs to be systematic in order to be understood eventually. At the end. So what I mean to say here is that demographic dividend is something that doesn't come straight away. You know, it comes at the last. Why I'm saying you that it comes at the last? Because before demographic dividend, dependency ratio comes, and before dependency ratio comes, the age structure comes. And when we know about age structure, that we have got three kind of groups, right? uh, right from 0 to 14 is the first group, and after that 15 to 64 is the second group, and third group is all third group is over 64, right? So once we understand the age structure, the three groups that are there in the population, then we proceed further to understand dependency ratio, right? In which we try to understand the ratio, and in that ratio we keep non-working population, means children and elder people, group second and group third, as numerator, and in denominator we keep that working population. So we all know that dependency ratio is the ratio of non-working population to the working population. So when we understand age structure, then only we understand dependency ratio. And when we understand dependency ratio, we also understand rising dependency ratio and falling dependency ratio. Rising dependency ratio is there in the society when there are more dependents, means when there are more non-working population than working population. And you know that it is always a burden for working population to carry the needs of the non-working population. So, and this is what you know the the rising dependency ratio is all about. Then we talk about the falling dependency ratio. And we also know that after we understand falling dependency ratio, now what is falling dependency ratio? When working population is more than non-working population, then it is a falling dependency ratio. Means there are less dependents on dependence, means there are less dependent people on working population. And this is what your falling dependency ratio is all about. So initially we understood age structure, then we understood dependency ratio, and after dependency ratio we understand your rising dependency ratio and then falling dependency ratio. And after falling dependency ratio, what comes out of it? Demographic dividend comes out of it. And I've already told you that this demographic dividend is a very good condition when there is less non-working population and more working population is there. So that's the reason I was telling you that everything goes in a systematic manner. So we got to understand everything in a systematic manner to understand things you know to their full extent, right? So that's the reason I was telling you that it's the way to study things, right? Then only we feel like things are easy. you know that's what I wanted to tell you. Now I'll do what, I'll share another PPT with all of you. in order to make you things more easy. Okay, so I'm sharing the PPT with you. I'm sure you can see my screen on your screens. Okay, so this is another PPT that I've made for all of you. And what else? Okay, and this is the previous PPT, right? So what I was telling you from here is that, so I was telling you about, okay, so I was telling you about rising dependency ratio and falling dependency ratio. Now remember that it's important for us to understand the reasons for your rising dependency ratio and reasons for falling dependency ratio. Look, look at my cursor, you know. A rising dependency ratio is a cause for worry in countries that are facing an aging population, since it becomes difficult for a relatively smaller proportion of working age people to carry the burden of providing for a relatively larger proportion of dependents. So this is what happens in rising dependency ratio. You know, it becomes very difficult for working population to cater the needs of non-working population, and this is what happens in rising dependency ratio. But when I talk about the falling dependency ratio, then it's a very good condition. You know, it's an ideal condition for any country. Just like India is going through falling dependency ratio, we have more working population. So what happens here is that, on the other hand, a falling dependency ratio can be a source of economic growth and prosperity. Look, when there are more working people in the country, then they are always more likely to collect more and more money. They're always going to, you know, to become economically well-being. That's what actually happens. They become, you know, prosper. They get more success in terms of economic matters. So it's always a good condition, right? So this is what happens in rising dependency ratio and falling dependency ratio. Okay, so this is what I wanted to discuss with all of you. Okay, now there is another thing that I want to discuss with you all. Now, since you all know that India is going through falling dependency ratio, so here it is asked that what are the features, look at my cursor, what are the main features of demographic dividend in India? Now, when they ask us about the demographic dividend, then we all know that it is something that is related to working population, non-working population. What happens in demographic dividend is that, you know, it is generally asked that what are the main features of demographic dividend. So look at the number one point. Working age of people right from 54 to 64 is relatively large. So this is a feature of Indian demographic dividend, isn't it? That we have more working population. Then small groups of old people to support. Obviously, we have more, you know, young people in our country, so there are less people to support, especially less old people to support. And small groups of young children who cannot work are supported. And it's not like only old people are supported, small children who cannot work, they're also supported. So this is the third feature. And it is a source of economic growth and prosperity. Look, when there are more working people in a country, then a country always grow economically. You know, we always become prosper means the state of being successful, especially in terms of economy, right? So we all know that demographic dividend is a source of economic growth and prosperity. Now I'm sure you know that what is your what is your age structure. Now I'm sure you know that what is dependency ratio. I'm sure now you know that what is falling dependency ratio and rising dependency ratio. And now you also know that demographic dividend, this concept of demographic dividend comes out of falling dependency ratio. All right, so this is what I wanted to discuss with you all. Now I will close this PPT, and I will open up the new PPT that I've made for this chapter to proceed further. All right. Okay. Okay. So this is a new PPT that I've made for you. So what we're going to understand here is that, okay, so this is a new concept, size and growth of India's population, right? This is the number one concept that we will discuss today. Okay, that we will discuss today. So what happens when we talk about size and growth of India's population? Look, size and growth of India's population, it really depends on birth rate, death rate, you know, how there is an interplay of these things are going on in our country. It all sets, you know, the size and growth of India's population. Now look at that. India is the second most populous country in the world after China. Okay? And with a total population of 103 crores, means 1.03 billion according to the census of 2001. Look, these records are according to the census of 2001, but according to the census of 2011, since your book is printed before 2011, so that's the reason it is, you know, telling us the census or the data of 2001. But right now, if we, you know, look at the current data regarding our population, it's almost over 130 crores. It's almost over 1.3 billion, right? So the population is, you know, humongous in our nation. Unlike the death rate, the birth rate has not registered a sharp fall. This is because the birth rate is a socio-cultural phenomena that is relatively slow to change. By and large, increased levels of prosperity exert a strong downfall pull on the birth rate. Once infant mortality rate declines, there is an overall increase in levels of education and awareness. Family size family size begins to fall. There are wide variations in the fertility rate across the states of India. Okay, so across the state in India, some states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu have managed to bring down their total fertility rates to 2.1 and 1.8 respectively. This means that the average women in Tamil Nadu produces only 2.1 children, which is the replacement level required to replace herself in sports. Kerala's total fertility is actually below the replacement level, which means that population is going to decline in the future. And many other states like Himachal Pradesh, West Bengal, Karnataka, Maharashtra have fairly low total fertility rate. Now, you know, it was very important for us to understand all the indicators. It was very important for us to understand all the common concepts of population, because now there is going to be, you know, usage of all these indicators or concepts of population. Look what happens. Now we all know that birth rate has, you know, what has happened in this current situation. The death rate has declined. Now, why death rate has declined? Because there is availability of good health and medical facilities. There are hospitals, there are other medical institutions that are now available in our India, right? So with that, we could able to do what? We could able to stop the death rate. Like, we could able to stop the death rate. But birth rate has not, you know, come down. Why? Because birth rate is something that is related to socio-cultural phenomena. Now, what is socio-cultural phenomena? You know, socio is a word that is used for society, right? And when I say cultural phenomena, it means something that is related to our culture, that is related to, you know, the way we are doing things. It is related to our rituals. It is related to the mindset of a society. So birth rate is something that is related to socio-culture phenomena. Means people still prefer male child, right? They neglect girl child, which is a very bad thing. So it's important to understand that socio-culture phenomena is, responsible for this, birth rate, because people, don't want to change their mindset. They are still preferring or giving more preference to a boy baby. And this is what actually happening in our country. So this is one of the reasons that why birth rate has not declined. All right. And we have got a lot of variations, right, in our country. Some states have total, what is total fertility rate? Total fertility rate is that rate in which we try to calculate the average number of babies that a you know mother can give birth to. Now the total fertility rate in Kerala and Tamil Nadu is somewhere on the good level, right? And when I say a replacement level, it means that a woman is giving birth to to two children, right? So it is a replacement level because her husband and women are giving birth to two children. So husband and wife are replaced by two children. So it is a replacement level. But if they give birth to four or three children or more than four children, then it is not a replacement level. Then it gives rise to population explosion, right? So what is happening in our country is that some states have a replacement level of 2.1 or somewhere around 2 or 3, but in many countries like Rajasthan, MP, Bihar, UP, they have got higher fertility rate, higher total fertility rate. You know, they are giving birth to more than four children or at times five also. So this is a problem that our birth rate is not coming down. So there is a variation across the country in terms of birth rate. All right. And okay, but there are some states, notably Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh, which still have a high total fertility rate of four and more. So the states like these, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, UP, people in these states, are giving birth to more children, four or more. So it's not a, ideal or good situation as far as, population growth is concerned. All right. There are few states already counted for almost 45% of total population. Look, there, you know, the total fertility rate of these states are so much that they are responsible for 45 or even more than 45 to 50% of our population share comes from these states. Why? Because they have high fertility rate. Okay, so this is what is happening in our country. Okay. So there is a question that comes out of this topic, that size and growth of India's population. As I've already told you, that size and growth of India's population is something that depends on birth rate and death rate. If we will not control, or if we will not curtail the birth rate, then our size and population is always going to grow, right? So the size and growth of India's population is something that depends on birth rate, something that depends on death rate. But some states have very good fertility rate in the form of 2.1 or 1.8 or somewhere around 2 or 3, but some states have very high fertility rate. So these factors are giving rise to size and growth of India's population. Now the question comes out of this topic. You know what kind of question comes out of these topics? That identify the reasons for different replacement levels found in the different states of India. So, there is a variation. There is a variation in our country regarding to the replacement levels. Some states are very good in terms of replacement level, like Kerala, Tamil Nadu. Okay. And some states are not good in terms of total fertility rate because they have high fertility rate, four or more, right? So they are asking us the question that why there is a difference in replacement levels in our country, in India, right? So the reasons are the quality of education. Look, what I told you in theory of demographic transition, I told you that birth rate is something that depends on. I told you that all the phases or all the societies depend on birth rate and death rate. And I've already told you that birth rate is something that is related to education. Birth rate is something that is related to our awareness level. Birth rate is something that is related to socio-culture phenomena, right? So, and the death rate is related to availability of, good hospitals, good medical institutions, right? So this is what happens when we talk about birth rate and death rate. So the number one reason why there is a variation in replacement levels, or why there is a lot of variety in our country. So the reasons are the quality of education is different in different states. Look, the states which have good quality of education, they are aware of having a they are aware of keeping the families to a certain number, to try to not give birth to many number of children. So quality of education really matters, and we know that it is different in different states. Like the quality of education is not good in UP, Bihar, but the quality of education is good in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, in southern states. So they have tried to keep the fertility rate or total fertility rate to a certain extent. And second, awareness level varies from state to state. And this is also something that is related to our education. So awareness level is also different in different states. The first reason was the quality of education. Second reason was awareness level. It also varies from state to state. Third reason, family size begins to fall in certain states. Now, why family size begins to fall in certain states? Because people started getting education. People started becoming aware, right? So in certain states, we have small families. In certain states we don't have small families, and I know that now you know what I'm referring to, or which states I'm referring to. UP, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, these are those states who have larger families. On the other hand, states like Kerala and Tamil Nadu, these states have smaller families. And the fourth reason, where we can name the states also. So Kerala and Tamil Nadu have lower fertility rate or lower total fertility rate as compared to other states like MP, UP, Bihar. You can include Rajasthan as well. So these were the reasons, of different replacement levels in different states of India. Now we'll proceed to understand the next topic, right? There is another question that I've added for you regarding this particular topic. Regarding which topic? Regarding size and growth of India's population. Now there is another question, that comes out of this topic. I've tried to do what? I've tried to, attach the questions with the topic, so that eventually when we end up studying any topic, you get a good amount of idea that what kind of question can come from a certain topic. It's definitely going to help you to get the good understanding of the topics. Now the second question that comes out of this topic is that, look at my cursor. Despite the decline in birth rate, the growth rate of India's population is increasing. Explain the reason. Now I told you, when I was teaching you about size and growth of India's population, I told you that death rate is decreasing, or it is coming down. It is coming down because we have good health and medical facilities. We have availability of hospitals and other medical institutions. So that's the reason death rate has come down. We have found vaccines, to save ourselves from certain epidemics or pandemics. So we have able to cut down our death rate, but birth rate has not come down, and this has become reason for India's population to grow so high. And what we call it population explosion, right? And I'm sure you remember that population explosion, or concept of population explosion, is something that comes out of second phase in transitional theory. you know the concept of population explosion comes from developing countries. So what happens in population explosion? Birth rate is not, it doesn't come down, but death rate is controlled. So here they are asking us about the reason that despite decline in birth rate, why our Indian population is still, you know, increasing. So I'll tell you the reasons, and we have already studied these reasons. Reason number one: birth rate is a socio-cultural phenomena and relatively slow to change. As I've already told you, that socio-cultural phenomena is something that is related to our culture. Culture of a particular society is what socio-cultural phenomena is all about. And when we talk about the socio-cultural phenomena, then it includes the mindset of people also. what kind of thinking people have, how they think. Do they try to if aware themselves? Are they ignorant? If they are ignorant, they are not going to change themselves. But if they are educated, if they have awareness, they are always going to look for the change in themselves. So only those people change. Remember that only those people change who change themselves, in terms of their mindset. So socio-culture phenomena in India is something like that, which is very difficult to change. It's very important for people to become aware, to get as much as education as they can. So socio-culture phenomena is pretty difficult to change. It is changing, but not to the pace that we need, right? This is the first reason. Second reason, wide variations in the fertility rate across the states of India. I've already told you that there are a lot of variations in the fertility rate. Like Kerala and Tamil Nadu have lesser fertility rate. On the other hand, states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, MP, Rajasthan, they have high fertility rate. So this is also a kind of reason in the form of wide variations that is there in our country, right? So this is the second reason. Third reason, awareness level, education, small sizes, acceptance. Now I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. If I'm saying awareness level, I'm saying education, I'm saying acceptance of small family, I'm sure you know it, right? And the last reason, where you can really mention the states like Bihar, MP, and Rajasthan, UP have high fertility rate. So the states like Bihar, MP, Rajasthan, UP, these states are responsible, to create variation in our country, right? Due to these states, the variations are coming, because at one end we have got states that have a lower fertility rate. On the other hand, we have states that have high fertility rate. Okay, I'm sure you have understood these 4 points. Look, for 4 marks question, you have to write four, points, and you can add some introduction also with that. That will be enough for a 4 marks question, right? And for 2 marks question, you have to write 2 points, right? You can add a little bit of introduction with it to make your answer, a good answer. Okay. So now I'm sure you have understood this topic, size and growth of India's population. Along with that, I've also discussed two important questions that more often than not come with this topic. All right. So now we're going to proceed to understand the second topic, of today's class, that is age structure of Indian population. Now, look, I want to make you understand one thing here is that out of every topic, the question is always going to come in the form of variations, because since I've already told you that India has got a lot of variations, and India's got variations in many things, whether we talk about size and growth, whether we talk about age structure, whether we talk about sex ratio, right? So or any other topic. So we are always going to have different variations in different states. So the questions like that are always going to be asked in the exams, that tell us the reasons for the variations in age structure, tell us the variations in the aspects of size and growth of population, tell us the various reasons for the variations in sex ratio. So the questions related to your variations are always going to be asked. They are more likely to be asked. Okay, so this is what I wanted to tell you. Now we'll proceed to understand the second topic of today's class, age structure of the Indian population. All right, so what happens here is that, look at that, look at my cursor. India has a very young population. Now I'm sure you know that what is age structure. I hope you know that India has a very young population. That is, the majority of Indians tend to be young, and the average age is also less than most of the other countries. Okay, so since demographic dividend situation is going on, so we can assume that in fact it is the fact that India have a young population, right? As with fertility rates, there are wide regional. Look at that. Regional variations have come again. So with this topic also, with age structure topic also, as with fertility rates, there are wide regional variations in the age structure as well. While states like Kerala is beginning to acquire an age structure like that of the developed countries. Uttar Pradesh presents a very different picture with high proportions in the younger age groups and relatively low proportions among the age. India as a whole is somewhere in the middle between. It includes states like Kerala and Uttar Pradesh. Now look what happens. Now in Kerala, we have got less younger people, but we have got more elder people. But in Uttar Pradesh, we have got more younger people and less elder people. So there is a variation in age structure also in our country. So India is somewhere in between. We have got not many young people, we have got not many elder people. So the ratio that actually comes out of this situation is that we have relatively more young people in our country, right? Okay, so this is what age structure of Indian population is. Okay, the bias towards younger age groups in the age structure is believed to an advantage for India. I've already told you that when we have more younger people, when we have more working population, then it is always an advantage, right? Which gives rise to demographic dividend. Okay. Uh, but there is nothing automatic about this advantage. It needs to be consciously exploited through appropriate policies. Look, if you've got more young people, then they should have some work also to do, right? If they don't have any work or if they are unemployed, then will not able to get most out of our youngsters, right? So our government needs to implement certain policies, bring certain schemes for the youngsters so that we can able to get best out of them, because after some time they are also going to become older, they're also going to become elder. So this is the right time for government to implement policies so that they can channelize the energy of youngsters and by giving them more and more employment. So this is what you need to understand here. Okay. Okay, so what kind of question that comes out of this particular topic? Which topic I'm talking about? Age structure of Indian population, right? So what kind of question comes out of this particular topic of age structure? We have discussed a lot about age structure. So there are wide regional variations in the age structure in India. Give reasons. It is generally asked. We studied wide regional variations in size and growth of Indian population, and here we are studying wide regional variations in age structure. Okay, so what are the reasons why there are wide regional variations in the age structure in India? Number one reason, literacy. We are going to explain everything in this chapter by referring to education, by referring to social culture phenomena, by referring to mindset of people, by referring to different states, by giving example of different states. We're gonna refer everything in that way in this particular chapter. Number one reason is that literacy is not equally distributed in all the states of a country. Thus there are some states that are more aware and educated compared to others. Hence in such states the fertility levels are low. They thus experience a favorable age structure. Look, if a particular society of a particular state is educated, they're always going to be more aware, and they're always going to give birth to the less children. So with that, the fertility is always going to be low in those states. So with that, we'll have a favorable age structure. We'll not have more, elder people in the state, because the population or the size of family is already low. So what happens after a few years? We will have more youngsters as compared to elder people. So the second reason is that certain states have a strong belief in social preference for a male child. These people thus raise the fertility levels in the desire for a male child. Look what happens. In certain states, the mindset of people is like that. They want to have a male child, right? So what happens that in order to, attain the male child, in order to, have that male child, they actually raise the fertility levels in the desire for a male child. So their fertility rate is always high because they need a male child. So with that they always try to, you know, have higher fertility rate. So this is the second reason. Since development level in all states, I'm talking about the third point, since development levels in all the states is not equal, if the death rate is high for a lack of infrastructure, the birth rate tend to be high to compensate the high death rates. This also creates for an unfavorable age structure. Look, if any state doesn't have a good medical facility, then what happens here is that there is always going to have more death rate, right? So when there will be more death rate, then people, to compensate that death rate, to recover, you know, the loss that has been made in the death rate, they're always going to have more birth rate, like, okay, so in order to compensate or recover the death rates. So this was the third reason. Thus, fourth reason, I'm talking about the fourth reason. Thus we have states like Kerala, which exhibits age structure similar to a developed nation, compared with Uttar Pradesh, which has very high proportions of young age group. So Kerala has a lower fertility rate, so they give rise to less, you know, population. But on the other hand, Uttar Pradesh, what happens? Uttar Pradesh have high fertility rate, so okay, so they have higher fertility rate, so there is always a higher proportions of young age groups here. So these are the, you know, reasons for the variations in the age structure, right? Because of the literacy, because of the education level, because of the awareness level, because of the, you know, bad medical facilities, because of the, you know, varieties in the fertility rate of different states. This is what happens. That's the reason we have variations in the age structures. Some states have you know, more younger population, some states have more elder population, and states like Kerala have a higher elder population, while states of Uttar Pradesh have